Good morning, everybody. My name is Jonathan Tripp. Welcome to our show. Today's show, I hope it's going to be a really great one. No, I know it's going to be a great one. We're going to be talking with my friend Rachel Moore from Really Social. I'm going to bring her on in just a minute. So thank you guys, everybody that is watching us or that is watching us on the replay, because I realize replays are really big. They are really important because not everybody can catch us live, because we do this show for about an hour, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock. And I always welcome people to join us. We do this show live. We host it live on whoza.io, and then my specific channel is /Jonathan Tripp. You're welcome to come on over and test it out. Or if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever you're watching this, on Facebook or anywhere else, there's lots of different places you can catch the channel. But if you want to watch us live and be able to chat with us, you need to come over to that channel. So I'm really excited to be able to bring on Rachel this morning. And let's see here. There we go. Good morning, Rachel. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing great. I was coffee's flowing, water's going, and it's sunny out, so that's nice.
No, I love that too. I mean, I do my mug shot. Let's see if I can do it and not spill it. There's my mug shot for the morning. Thank you so much. I'm really glad to have it. And see, I like your mug way better than mine because yours is all branded up for you. Really Social. So that's really great. I love that. So as we're kind of inviting everyone else in, and they're now being a part of of the show. I really like the fact that that we've connected on other platforms. I've seen you on Twitter. I know you're on Snapchat and obviously Facebook and things like this. I think I came across your shows live when we were using Blab. It was just one of the other platforms that I could find you on, and I was really I really liked hearing but you do a couple of other things other than just a little bit of social media. You do other things, and so I'm really excited to hear about that, because I want to ask you some questions on like what you're doing and some things like that. So, but as we're sharing this out, if you guys haven't already, please do share the link out. That's how people get to know, and that's how they get to. They get to see us. And so I just started the YouTube channels just getting up this morning, and it's a little bit of a challenge because when you do things live, it's not quite so automatically done for you.
Exactly. Nothing ever, and there's always something that goes not quite according to plan. So just be ready.
Right. So, all right. Let's see who is in the chat. I got to make sure I turn that off. So one of the things that I wanted to talk with you about, Rachel, is that not everybody knows who you are. Not everybody knows what you do. And for those that don't, would you just please just take a minute and just tell us about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I love referring to the bio in my Twitter handle, which is Rachel really. But I call myself a wife, diva, weirdo, mom, and a creative nerd who likes to wield the word. and those are all true about me. I'm 41 and loving that decade so far. I feel like I've earned my chops to get here. But I'm a business owner. I own a company called Really Social. We're based in Denver, but pretty much don't have walls to wherever we can go. But I'm a social media training and marketing firm here. And so I live and breathe social media. Probably drives my family a little bit on the crazy side because I'm always, oh, wait, I've got to do this. I've got to check this. Got to check this hashtag. I've got to do a Snapchat and stuff. But they support it too because they know that's what I do. But I love social media, working in it, teaching it. I think it's a perfect trifecta of communication, creativity, and technology, and which is why this is so cool for me too, because we're on this live stream and able to use the technology we need to communicate to people in a creative manner. So that's really what I do. And as you mentioned, Really Social is a good descriptor of me because I am everywhere, and I try not to be everywhere because that's bad policy. It's not good practice. But I am very social where I am. So.
Right. You bring up a kind of a really good point right off the bat. In today's topic, it's I try to be pretty I'd be honest with you. I really worked at this title. You had your company name is so, it's so easy, it's so catchy that I couldn't pass up the opportunity to put in there. So so today we're going to be talking about like what it means to be really social.
Mhm.
And it is a little play off your company name, but I think one of the things that and you hit it right off the top, which is I'm not everywhere.
Right.
You're not everywhere all the time, and
No.
you can't be. It's too hard. There's too much going on to be on every single platform. I mean, there's like I mean, we'll name some of the really big ones,
Yeah.
and you notice that when you start naming and adding these social medias together, they take up a lot of time, and not in a bad way. It's not
Right.
like, oh, it's like it's another drudgery of a thing. In order to do it well, and I think the vast majority of people really do actually, they want to do this well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so that's a really hard thing for them.
Yeah.
And so how many? I'll ask you this: how many social media platforms are you on?
Let's see. So I'm immediately thinking about my buffer because I
Mm-hmm.
use buffer. Which, by the way, I never get married to one particular tool because they change so often and the features change. I also use Hootsuite and stuff for clients, but buffer is what I use for my own social. I'm probably on about four consistently. I feel like that's the max bandwidth I can do. I can dedicate to, you know, with good intent and with quality. So I'm on Snapchat daily. I'm on Twitter daily. I am on Periscope daily, which that's something I've been getting my feet wet with a little more. I know there are some other people on they've been on Periscope for months and doing wonderful with that. So I'm kind of ebbing into that one, and then I'm on Facebook. In Facebook, I'm on I post daily for my page, but I'm also in some groups and stuff, which are those are some fantastic communities. So those are the four that I really do dedicate to. I'll post occasionally to LinkedIn, but I don't live there. So
Mm-hmm.
it really is about. And I made that decision a while back where I'm like, I can't. I can't be on 6, 7, 8 different platforms
Yeah.
and do all that well. And I don't think anyone should. I think that you can totally try things out, but you do kind of find your niche or niche, whatever you want to say, and you find out where, okay, this is where I'm building a community. This one, it's not happening. It's not a good mesh. So then you need to zero in on where the community is happening. I think that's the best goal you can have, whatever your goal is.
So when you're picking your social media platforms, do you focus in on what type of content you want to produce? Because I mean, I hear a little bit of there's short form like with Twitter.
Mhm.
There's a little bit more of the social sharing aspect like in Facebook and things like that. And then you said Periscope, and obviously I mean I know we're there's other live streaming platforms other than just Periscope. We like right now what we're doing. Um, you know how do you pick your platform based on the type of content, or do you just have a message and you share it with your network? I mean, maybe I'm being a little more too semantic, having
Sure.
too much semantic, but do you get what I'm saying? Like, how do you choose your platforms?
Well, I will say I think that Facebook is a no-brainer. Um, and just for the fact that so many people have it, and the reach is so substantial that I think anyone trying to do anything in social media should be on Facebook. So that was not even a option for me. Where I was like, I need to have, I've got my profile, have a page, and I have my own group called Really Social Good, and then I also am involved with several groups that are targeted to what I'm interested in or what I'm trying to do. But I think you have to do Facebook because the reach is just substantial, and you can reach such a vast. I mean, whatever your target audiences are, you can reach them on Facebook. You just can. But then it's about figuring out, well, who do I cater to the most? Now, I do actually do a lot of work with B2B with businesses who are trying to be on social media. So you would think, well, LinkedIn should be a natural thing for you. I'm like, well, it is, and then, like I said, I post on there, but I'm seeing a ton more engagement on some of the other apps like Twitter. I see a ton more community that I'm able to build on Twitter versus on LinkedIn. And again, that's me. That's how I come across, and that's what meshes with my how I convey and how I communicate. And then Snapchat, which again, that might be surprising, but there are some majorly awesome people on Snapchat, not just teens, tweens, and millennials, and they're doing their own businesses and they have their own needs, and we're all kind of crowdsourcing that and learning about each other and developing relationships, and that's leading to things. And again, I think a lot of it too, for me, live video has been a wonderful thing because I love communicating on it. I don't mind it. I don't get nervous about it. I know that's not a formula for everybody. So that's been a natural thing for me to be like, no, I have no problem hitting go play, start broadcast and let's start talking and just engaging with people. So I think you do. You look at what makes a natural fit for the audience I want to reach, but what's a natural fit for me? Can I communicate effectively on that platform? And the nice thing about social media is that we often have at least two options or more, usually, for how to connect with the audience that we want to reach.
Now, Rachel, I have to say, like, you say you're on Snapchat, but you're over 41. I know I said I only brought this up because you did first, right? But you're on Snapchat. I'm not sure you're allowed to be on Snapchat. I'm not sure. You're too old to be on the Snapchat. No, not anymore. I mean, it used to be that way, right? But
it did. Well, and I'm sure if any teens or tweens or millennials watch this, they're probably like, you adults are ruining this for me. I'm like, well, sorry. It's not us that ruined it for you. It's the actual platform itself and what it does. And actually, who you can blame is Gary Vee. Thanks. Because he's the one who got on and apparently just was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And he's like the Pied Piper and everybody's like, oh, I must go do what he's doing. And so they get on. So you can blame Gary Vee. Don't blame me. But, I will say this, and I don't feel like I did enough opportunity since you opened the door. I'm going to walk in it. There are so many cool people that are older that are on Snapchat. Jeremy Cash is one guy that I follow on Snapchat. He's vision impaired. He's an amazing artist, and he is over 40, and he is connecting with people on Snapchat and just building a community, and people are able to see what he does. And it's amazing. And then I've seen so many older people, and I'm talking people who I've learned that they're in 60s, 70s retirement age, but they're on Snapchat, and even if they're not doing stories, they're watching people and they're connecting and engaging. And I love that it's breaking down silos to where they might feel like, well, I'm here at an assisted care facility, and I really only have a community I can get out of my room to see. But really, using Snapchat or other social media, they're able to connect beyond those walls. And I've seen amazing things like that on Snapchat, and that's why I am a hardcore fan for it. I will never back off that. And yeah, we might, the millennials or teens might not like that we're on it, but actually, I have a funny story about that too, because I saw that my niece, she's just turned 16. She got on Snapchat, and I have her mobile number, so I added her, and she has never posted a thing. So I'm like, either you weren't supposed to be on Snapchat because mom didn't want you to be, or you changed and made another account that I don't know about. But it is something to be aware of for parents, for their kids getting on Snapchat, but it's such a wonderful connection. Thanks, Rashim. I appreciate that. And I don't know what your first name is, but I'd love to know it because then I can call you by that instead of your last name. But no, I appreciate that. I just think it's such a great connecting platform. And again, I mentioned this earlier, the news, social media news is backing me up on that as far as how effective it is. So.
Well, I'm kind of wondering, as months and now weeks and now months have gone by, we're using the different social platforms differently, right? And now I know that's kind of where you were basically going is telling. I mean, that's what happened with Snapchat, just in and of itself. And I know that's just one of the platforms, and that's really kind of what I want to drive at, is that you're creating content, but it's just Snapchat is one place. You go to you do another thing that I think it's really great. You organize and run a Twitter chat. Yeah. And I didn't know about this until recently, and it's to the point where now there are a couple of Twitter chats that I try to participate in as much as I can, to the point where I actually put them in my calendar.
Yeah,
And
you
I
have
try
to.
to block the time off because, like yours, well, just tell us a little bit about your Twitter chat.
Oh, sure. So my Twitter chat is called, it's hashtag Let's Live Stream, and I'm putting that in the sidebar there. So what happened was I love Twitter chats. They are awesome. They are such. If you guys ever are on Twitter and you're like, I don't get it, I'm not connecting, find a Twitter chat, and I guarantee you there is one on a topic that you will love, because there are ones on college scholarships and funding. There are ones on healthcare. There are ones on all kinds of marketing stuff, obviously. But and food and travel and everything, and they're great, because then you just tie into that hashtag and you're able to go and watch a conversation and pop in. But I was so I live streaming became this thing. All of us are we're all incorporating it into our digital marketing, and I was noticing, I'm like, no one's really focused just on live streaming on a Twitter chat. I mean, it was definitely side topics. It'd be in topics like hashtag media chat or things like that, which is run by my friend Aaron Kilby. But I'm like, it's not really getting a dedicated Twitter chat. So I did some exploration. I'll tell you though too, I thought long and hard about it, because running a Twitter chat is some work, and it was like, oh god, it's another thing. Do I do it or not? And I really got inspired by Madeline Sklar. She has her hashtag Twitter Smarter chat on Thursdays. And I was watching things happen, because again, on social media, everything's very public usually. But I was watching conversations happen between her and Christy Gillentine, and
Mm-hmm.
Christy started hashtag Chat Snap, which is a Twitter chat about Snapchat. And I have to be careful when I say those two together, because then I want to start calling
I know.
Snapchat.
Same thing happens to me. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's. I know. So I'm like, chop, chop, chop. But Madeline really encouraged her, and Christy was very vocal about saying, Madeline gave me the guts to just go ahead and do it and get started, and so she did, and I think that was so great that she did, and my big hang up on it was like, well, how can I do a Twitter chat on a topic that's live streaming? It's not like I'm live streaming it. Shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
I just do a chat about it on a video thing? And I'm like, but then she did, well, Snapchat's not on Twitter, but there's nothing stopping us from talking about it on Twitter. So that's what I just like, I'm going to do it. And I've loved it, and it has been work, but we are developing a community. To get the regulars on there, we're all just talking about live streaming, about if we use it or if we don't, what we think about it. We have opinions about vertical video. Angelica Matta is one of our people on there, and she's always like, I'm a broadcaster, and this is so hard for me to get my head around, but it's there. And so we talk about that. And so it's every Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. It's easy. Just go on Twitter, hashtag Let's Live Stream. Plus, I did add a component. I felt like, well, this might be a natural thing to do. I do stream it on Periscope, kind of a behind the
Mm-hmm.
scenes, where I'm on, and I'm interacting and I'm reading like what the questions are, and then as people are piping up on Twitter with what their comments are, I'm reading like, okay, so and so is saying this. That's a really good point, and we're engaging. So it's been fun, because people are usually on one device on the Twitter chat, but then they're on Periscope with me, and they're commenting, and we're all doing stuff. So it's been great, and it's okay that you're new to it, because it's relatively new. I think it's only been
Right.
going for about two and a half months maybe, and so it's pretty new.
I, I'm actually really glad to hear that part because I think it was maybe about 3 weeks ago. Now, understand, because it only happens once a week. If you miss it, it's gone for a whole week. And so that's
Yeah.
why I put it into my schedule. But I will be honest with you, when it wasn't just, it was, I mean, there are other Twitter chats out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the issue. But it was the fact that what you did is you did the Periscope behind the scenes.
Right.
That was cool because now I'm watching it happen. I'm watching the Twitter chat on within the platform. Actually, I use well, you can use a couple of different things. Like TweetDeck is
Right.
one, or you can use Hootsuite or TweetChat.com is another tool. That's the one that
Yeah.
Madeline Sklar taught me, showed me about. But I was able to follow it, the text on. But then whether it was actually the first time I did it, it was on. I just watched your Periscope on my monitor. But then I was like, oh well, I want to actually participate, so I hopped onto to Periscope. So I'm doing this Twitter chat on my desktop, and then I've got my Periscope on my mobile going, and I'm going like, this is really intricate. This is a little bit bigger, right?
That's
So
that's so cool to hear that perspective too, because I'm doing it but I want to know what it's like for an end user. Be like, well, if you're in chatting and able to do, but how is that working? So it's really, and honestly, it was that was a spur of the moment thing. And I'd really rather work with more strategy. But then one day I'm like, well, crap, I need to be getting on Periscope more. I should just do this. Let's just see what happens. And that was a great one. I think we had like over 50 or 60 viewers just on that first, behind the scenes of a Twitter chat. And then I was like, guys, is this working for you? And they're all like, yeah, this is great. This is so cool. I'm like, okay, let's keep doing it. So we have, and it's been fun.
And I mean, if you think about it, like the Twitter chat's name, let's live stream, I mean, that all those things that it's going around. I mean, you're doing it on Twitter, but wait, why you're talking about live streaming? Why don't you do it on live stream? I mean, it is such a perfect fit. And when people, if they figure, once they start to get to know it, they'll see that, they'll see that crossover. And so I'll be honest, like I really do try. I know this last week I started out, and then I actually had a call come in. So I was like, okay, you have to make, priority changes. But like during this show, I have to turn my phone off. I have to, I have to turn my the no more messages on my phone. I mean, and it's going to be the same way for you when you're doing that. Particularly if you're periscoping, you can't be doing those. But that was such a really good way of bringing those two social media platforms, those two different platforms together under one theme, so to speak. And so that was really well done.
Thank you. And honestly, I did think too. I'm like, should I do it on Periscope? Should I do it on Facebook Live? Snapchat really wasn't an option because that's a lot of thumbs. Where I'm like, oh, I got to snap. Ooh, and it is busy, because I'm trying to engage with everybody and answer the questions and retweet, and make sure everyone's getting the props and stuff. But Periscope was a more natural segue because I'm like, it's tied to Twitter already. My handles, Rachel really is the same on Periscope and Twitter. It's easy to follow. And it is, I mean, considering the fact that then the broadcast would be live in the feed for hashtag Let's Livestream, that was the natural choice. So granted, if I'd gone on Facebook, I could have gotten more reach. But to me, the community made more sense to be, nope, let's do a Twitter chat, and then it'll be a Periscope broadcast, and it's easy segue between the two. So it was a natural fit, I think. And again, I love the biggest challenge for me, honestly, is so I've got my phone set up on the side right next to my desktop, and I'm doing this, and I'm trying to kind of the biggest challenge is if I get engaged trying to reply to a tweet and then, in Periscope, the comments come up, but they disappear. So then I'm like, I just saw Chris Strub, you just said something, but I missed what it was. Can you say it again? Or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's a really big thing. And it makes Periscope become, always top of mind. You can't let it, delay. Exactly. Otherwise you see it, and I see Alex, kind of brings up it just made me think. It's like, oh, you could probably watch it also on you watch your Periscope yourself on your desktop. And that might give you a little bit of a delay, but honestly, like that's just another thing to be watching. I mean, if you guys saw like my video screen setup just for the show, a lot of people are like, yep, I'm out. I can't do this. I'm not gonna do it. I do it a little bit more complicated because I'm running the show.
Yeah.
Because we're sending this out. We're on a bunch of platforms this morning. And as a broadcast, but keeping our home where it is, and I just keep a couple places, and and so I mean that's kind of the way that we run it. And so I guess I always ask our guests and things, where if you were to call one place home, on social media and things, where would that be for you?
Ooh, I would say I love working in analogies. I would say that my primary home is Twitter is the main lot, and then Snapchat is a mother-in-law house on the back. Because Twitter has been my favorite for years. And guys, it wasn't always that way. I remember the first time I got on Twitter, I think I tweeted 3 things, and I didn't come back for like 3 years. It was like, I don't get it. And then I don't remember what brought me back. I just fell in love with Twitter. I love, and honestly, when you hear about the changes coming to it, I did get a little freaked out. I'm like, and I know I love change. I know change is a constant. We need it. I love the brevity of Twitter. I love that the confines of it really require me to step up my writing. and communication game. And I love that. And I love the boom, boom, boom connecting with it. So Twitter that, but I gotta say, Snapchat has really come up there, and honestly, the two so complement each other. And thanks a lot to the hashtag ChatSnap Twitter chat. But I am finding that people I'd already built community with and built relationship with on Twitter, I'm finding them on Snapchat, and it is so adding to those relationships. And then I'm learning more about that person and their life and what they like and their motivations. But then we're over on Twitter and we're like, oh my God, do you remember when we saw that on, it really does. And that's why I think Snapchat's so great, but Twitter will always probably be my first love unless drastic changes come about. But and that's not everybody. Again, everybody's got their sauce, their magic formula for where they like to live. Yep. And not a lot of people don't get Twitter. But though I hear that they're going to be making some changes to that where it's not such a formulaic or, code language on Twitter to try to engage. So I think that'll be great. People can see and realize the power of it, and it's wonderful.
Using Twitter as a main place, and we've heard using Twitter lists and things like this to help manage, because you can have a lot of people on your in your Twitter feed if you were just it's like walking down the street and everybody's there. But if you know what street you're going to go on, or that I like farmers markets. So that's a little insight into me. So the analogy goes, I know there are certain vendors, there are certain farmers that I want this particular thing from. So I have to know, I have to go down the aisle and they're usually the third vendor on the left. I need to know. And I kind of think of Twitter lists very similarly, that there's a variety of, you can do a whole bunch of these things, right?
Yeah.
You can do a whole bunch of these things where it's going to find who and what you want to find, and using Twitter lists to manage that. So I guess I'll just ask, how many, do you use Twitter lists that way?
Oh God. Yes. And actually I took the liberty, I hope you don't mind, of posting Rashim's, she had a great question about how do you leverage them? You have to use Twitter lists, guys. Particularly if you're building followers and building that community, you get over 100 people. There's just no way. There's no way to keep track of all that feed. That Twitter feed is going so fast. I can be on twitter.com right now, and I would see within 3 seconds, 25 more tweets. There's no way. So you have to leverage Twitter lists, and it's very easy to do. And guys, also, you don't necessarily, that person does not have to be following you to add them to a Twitter list. And you can actually add someone to a Twitter list without following them. So what you can do is, I usually will do Twitter lists. I have several. I've got ones where I know they are social media experts. I've got ones where there are potential let's live stream guests. If I can tell they're tweeting a lot about, they know their stuff on live streaming or video, I want to maybe peg them for a future guest spot. I have a my favorites Twitter list, which is where I'm like, these are the people that I want to support. They're good people. They are engaging. They're authentic. And anytime they tweet something out, I'm going to try to retweet them out and support that and engage. So I have a my favorites list, and I'll hop in that. Try to do it every day, where I'm like, I'll just go through and retweet, comment on what they're saying and stuff like that. I have a list that is strictly news. So that could be like CNN, Mashable, NY Times and stuff like that, where you're just trying to be, on the forefront of what's happening in the world. So, hey, Ross. Oh my gosh, I love that all these people are in here. You guys are so great. You can really, you have to use lists. And it's so easy to do, guys. You can either just use them from the twitter.com platform, go to your profile, you see your list, you click on it, and suddenly your feed is only the people in that list. So it's worth your while to go in once a week to all the people you followed and just start. They're like, I'm going to add them to this list. And the other thing to remember when you're doing lists is make sure you name it something appropriate. Because if you make that list public, that person's going to see that you added them to list. They're going to get a notification, which is also a nice way to give props on Twitter. But you don't want to be like, hot babes Twitter list, unless that's your flavor. Go ahead. But, or ugly chicks. If you had somebody to an ugly chicks list, okay, thanks. So just again, I'm giving you very extreme samples, but you
But
want to
good
make
good
sure.
to note though.
Yeah.
Unless it's a private list, I mean, people are going to know and see. I
Yes.
mean, I when I see it, and I know that people put me on a Twitter list. I really do try to reach out and say, hey, thank you for adding me to your list. It doesn't happen all the time, but but as you post more and more, you find that people do use that, and we have to be so be smart about how you label them, and
Yes.
and then invite and be strategic about who you put in your Twitter list, because I
Yeah.
mean, again, if you have a Twitter list of 5,000, I'll be honest, like what's the real point if you're trying
Yeah.
to curate content?
Exactly. And I will say too, there are, and I'm a proponent of a little bit of automation to make a big impact. I am one of those ounce of I think I did a blog called an ounce of automation. An ounce of automation is worth a pound of engagement. But you can set up some formulas like using ifttt.com, where if someone tweets something to you with a particular hashtag in it, you can have them added automatically to one of your lists. So um, I know, Christy Gillentine again. I know she's done that. Where anytime if I've tweeted something out and to her, and I use the hashtag ChatSnap, I then get notified I've been added to one of her lists. She's probably using that. So when she's getting ready to start her Twitter chat, she's notifying people in that list that,
Mm-hmm.
hey, this is starting. Like you said, and
Yep.
unless we put it on our calendars, it's hard to keep up with those Twitter chats. But she's being proactive and being like, well, these people are, ones who have shown interest in this Twitter chat anyway, so I should go let them know it's starting. So there are definitely some ways and hacks you can use to leverage those Twitter lists, and I would absolutely use Twitter lists if you're on Twitter.
So you bring up a really good point about automation and social media. And
Oh yeah.
remember, today's topic is really about it's about actually being social on social media, and not in a, well, I just sit there and I just kind of watch kitten videos or puppy videos, or I watch just the all the trending news. That's not exactly what I'm talking about, because a lot of us here that are watching this show and that watch on the replay, what we use social media platforms as part of our business. It's part of a broadcast tool, as well as, and I really hope this is happening for businesses, they're using it also as a listening tool, but that's going to be fostering conversations, right? And so I'm wondering, when it comes to automation, a lot of people say, nope, no automation, it's not authentic, there's no value in it. Some people block it. Some people just ignore or unfollow accounts, or whatever steps they feel personally that they need to do.
Mhm.
How valuable do you think is using automation in social media?
So I sigh because I've actually been privately messaged by people who really lambast me for using any automation. And to them, I say, I live in the real world, and my world needs a little automation.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and also, the goal of any automation should be to encourage engagement. You should never automate to where you are looking like a robot. And granted, some automation you can't avoid that because people might get the same message or something like that. But the goal should be to engage. So if you do use automation, like if you do, first of all, turn off your auto DMs right now if you're watching this. So no one should be auto DMing on Twitter unless it's giving something, like saying, hey, I'm so glad you followed me. Here's another person you should follow, or something like that. Do not auto DM something saying, hey, I have a book on Amazon. You should go buy it for $20. Oh my God. And I totally get those DMs, but you should use automation with a goal of trying to learn more about that person. And it can be a double-edged sword. Alex, that is it's exactly, there's a balance to hit. That's a really good point. I have used automation. I do use automation. I think I play around with a little bit, trying to see, is it working, is it not? I've used automation on Twitter where you guys have all seen it. On once a week, you'll see someone tweet out, here's to all my top engaged followers this week, boom, 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 boom. That's fine. I like a little more personal approach where I want someone, if they follow me on Twitter, I want them to know I saw them. I thank them for following me. And so I have used in the past where I've automated that first tweet to that person. And it is always a question about that person. It's saying, hey, I'm so glad you followed me. What's your plan for today? What's your next thing on your task list if you're willing to share? Do you have any tattoos, or things like that, or just kind of off the cuff weird questions that generate
social
a
questions.
conversation. Exactly.
It's not, well, what's your ROI on the last
No,
tweet you had? Because that's not how people talk. At least that's not how most people talk. Maybe some people do.
exactly.
Right? It's social questions, and I saw that
Hmm.
in your Twitter chat, and
Yeah.
because that was one of the things I wanted to ask is, how do you structure your automation where it's enough but not too much, where it's personal but not like it's not like invasive personal. It's a
Hmm.
good mix of where it makes me feel really comfortable with you,
Yeah.
just right off the bat, just from a tweet.
Yeah. And I think my goal, and again, I've had people who didn't like it. They're like, well, I'm worth more than a repeater tweet. And I'm like, well, that was the first tweet I sent you. But if you answer it, I can guarantee you that I'm going to answer 100% of those tweets. And guys, that's the other thing is, if you do use a little automation, you have to have infrastructure set up that you are engaging 100% after that. So you can ask me too on Snapchat. I respond to every message. On Twitter, I respond to even if it says, if you can kind of tell conversationally, you know, who's got the last word? Is somebody gonna stop tweeting back and forth about this at some point? So, I do kind of look at it, engage it like a conversation. So, but I at the very least will like a tweet. But usually I'm replying or I'm retweeting with a quote or I'm mentioning you or whatever. But if I ask you a question on Twitter and you respond, I'm gonna respond because like, oh my God, that's great. I blah blah blah. But it doesn't have to be salesy. It doesn't have to be. It shouldn't be salesy ever. If the conversation eventually segues to where they're asking about what you do and what you can provide and how you can help them, great.
Mm-hmm.
But I just look at it like, and here's my thing about it. If you guys ever go to a networking event and you're going around, you're shaking hands with people, new people that you've never met. Don't tell me you're coming up with a brand new thing to say to every single person. You're probably using the same set of thing. Hi, I'm Rachel. It's great to see you here. What do you do? Or hi, I'm Rachel. Oh my gosh, I've never been here before. Have you been to this place before? Or something. Have you been here often and stuff like that? But you are probably using a varying among the same few messages to meet that person and get a conversation going. That's the whole point. And so I will never fault somebody for using automation to get a conversation going that is non-salesy. So that's my big thing is that I get people who are very against automation, but my comeback to that is like, I'm one person. I would love to be able to be on 24/7 and respond, right away to that person following me. I can't. So, you know what? I am going to rely on this little program or whatever to get that first thing out. And then the rest is totally me.
Well, I think that's what you're really bringing up is the difference between using a tool and as part of the repertoire of what you're doing. It's helping you accomplish your goals, as opposed to it's just a crutch that, okay, good, that's running in the background. I don't need to worry
Right.
about it. And I think that's the real point. That's how I'm kind of seeing. You're
Yeah.
saying, look, that's how you use an automation tool. It's
Hmm.
to it either puts you in a place, like say if you're doing a Twitter chat, you could schedule those out because they're going to come out at a certain time. That's okay.
Yeah, it's totally okay. And frankly, and I've shared this on the Let's live stream chat before. I schedule out the questions, not the answers, because particularly if I have a guest, they need to be doing their answers. But that's okay if they schedule theirs out too, if we all know what's happening. But my God, people, we're having all this sidebar chat going on in the same chat, because that leads to spin-off questions and spin-off conversations. And again, the whole spine of that Twitter chat is the question and answer that's going out Q1 A1
Yeah.
Q2 A2. But most of the Twitter chat is people just, oh my gosh, hey, I didn't know you were going to be on today. Oh my gosh, hey, I saw you on Snapchat the other day. Hey, I caught your last live stream. It was so great. That topic was awesome. That's what the point is, and the point is to let people learn and network and crowdsource that information. So yeah, I am going to use a little automation, and I'm not going to feel guilty about
Well,
it.
yeah,
And
and you shouldn't. You
no,
shouldn't feel guilty. I mean, I think those that kind of miss out are if in those cases, if you're if for whatever reason, if you're using a mobile device or something, you're using something that kind of filters out, you're going to miss out. You actually have to watch it
Yeah.
live on the desktop or on that platform. And so I know kind of going forward, and I've made it a real point to spend time doing Twitter chats. And here's the number one reason why. Okay. We already do a lot of network and community building here. With the Blab Nation, with Jonathan Tripp Live as the show. I try to be really involved, within the group and try to answer questions and those kinds of things. But one thing that Twitter chats and specifically your Twitter chat, what it does is that the topics bring together people that are interested in that. It's like-minded people talking about like-minded things. And that to me is like really, if I want to connect with people that are interested in a certain topic, that's the way I'm going to do it. And so from me to you, I mean, thank you for doing that Twitter chat and coming up with it, because it's a part of my weekly routine now.
Nice. Well, that's wonderful to hear. And that's what we all should be looking for, right? We need to be trying to find those communities. On Facebook, it'd be Facebook groups or page. On Twitter, it'd be Twitter chat. On Snapchat, you can create your own list of people. Just a quick hack for that, because they're still developing and stuff. But you can, change your friends' names. Like I'm part of a Facebook group called Women of Snapchat. So it's all these women who are in Snapchat, but we're also on Facebook, so we're connecting about that. So in Snapchat, I've added a little prefix to everyone's Snapchat friend name, so it says WOS, Women of Snapchat. So now, if I want to go connect with one of them, I can go easily find them on my Snapchat. I'm creating a group, a community, a subset in that platform, so I can connect with them. But groups, and I think I just shared a news story out about this earlier this week, where micro communities, they were talking about that being the new thing. It's not that new, really, but a really good way to really target your audiences and engage and really reach those topics that are vital to your goals or your purpose or your interests. But you are finding those smaller communities that are very targeted about a specific topic. And that's the way to go. That's the way to do it. And I've tried to tell a lot of businesses too, I'm like, the more time you can spend in LinkedIn groups, in Twitter chats, in Facebook groups, you're going to see a lot more ROI, because you're developing those relationships, presenting yourself as a resource and a real person.
Right.
Versus just blah, 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 look at all the things I do.
Yeah, because this is the danger, and this is what automation really does or can do when done incorrectly. What automation does when done incorrectly, it just creates noise. It's just another thing that you hear or see that just pops up in your newsfeed, and it's not necessarily, I don't want to even just say so generically that it just doesn't add value. I'm saying that it's not relatable. There's no real engagement, because if I'm honestly, like if I'm tweeting at 2 a.m., unless it's really just a static link to say, hey, look, here's the replay for my show. At 2 a.m., you're probably, well, sometimes you'll get a reply from me. But, the whole point really is that if, at 2 a.m., most people aren't, at least in the U.S., are not going to be up, and you're not going to get a real good conversation with me, because it's 2 a.m., I'm getting ready to go to sleep, or I am asleep really, quite a bit. And so I really think it's really important that we take the time to focus on what real engagement is, using the automation to promote that engagement rather than just, like I was saying before, just use it as a crutch. Because otherwise, it's just like everything else, and it just gets lost in the crowd. And that's not, to use your namesake, that's not really social.
It's not. And I apologize, I had to get up. My cat, of course, got in a fix where I had to go help them out. But living with animals and children. No, I totally agree. You should never think of automation as like, oh, this is going to get the engagement done for me. No, it can help. It can support your engagement, but you do need to be that real person. And whether that may mean, you may need to start increasing infrastructure, resources, personnel. I worked with a company that we had a Facebook page, and that thing turned into a major customer service engine, because if people, there's on social media already. We all know that's where people voice their negative opinions, hopefully more positive opinions, but negative is always easier statistically. We always see that more. But they were really starting to get a lot of questions, complaints on their Facebook page via messenger or posts. And we had to add, we're like, well, we need to add some triage and process to this and, add some personnel to just dedicate to watching this. And I think that, I don't know if you've heard that statistic too, where 80% of companies out there don't respond to social media comments and questions and complaints. That blows my mind, that they're not, they're only seeing social media as an outbound channel instead of realizing people are going to be using it for inbound, saying, I have a question for you. I have a complaint. I have a concern. And then to not answer that just blows me away. I mean, why would you not? And I get that it's like, well, we can't afford that. Well, why are you on social media then? You cannot anymore. And any brand is listening to this, please. You cannot look at social media simply as a billboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a newspaper. It's not static.
Exactly. Yeah. You have made the commitment. Once you create that profile or page, you've made that commitment to, yes, you can send out, with at low or no cost, send out messages. You've made that commitment, though, to open that channel. Right. And there are going to be messages, hopefully, you should hope for it, that people are going to start sending messages your way. And then that's an opportunity to me, it's like someone opening a storefront. And then when people walk in the door, they're like,
sorry, we're closed.
Yeah, ignore. I don't need to pay attention.
Keep the lights
off. No one's going to do that.
Doors unlocked, but the lights are off.
Exactly. No business owner in their right mind who wants to make a profit or be successful is going to do that. Why would you do that? Right. So it really is, it's an education curve for people. Social media is not a quick fix. It's a new storefront, really.
So I want to ask you this because we've talked about, Facebook and Twitter and obviously, Periscope and all, and a lot of these, and we touched on Snapchat and such, in a very tangible way. How much time do you spend on social media? How much time do you spend actually engaging with whether it's your listeners, your clients, your audience, whatever you want to call them?
I would say, and actually I gave last week, I had people asking me, how are you getting anything done? You're on Snapchat all the time. I'm like, well, actually, Snapchat I spend probably 45 minutes a day on, which to me is not much, to create snaps. And I do roughly 20 to 30 snaps a day. I don't usually ever go over that unless I'm somewhere else. You're right. But usually 20 to 30. Weekend, no way. Weekend, I'm usually, family. I'll do maybe 2 to 3 snaps for the day. Wow. But I do, and then, I'm asking questions on Snap, so then people respond, and I'll just shoot off, And I love Snapchat too because I can easily, if someone private snaps me, I can just record a little audio thing, or I can shoot a little quick bobblehead video and send it back. So it's a fast response. That's just Snapchat though. So Twitter, I'd probably say I spend 30 to 45 minutes a day on Twitter. And again, brevity is, maybe that's why I love Twitter and Snapchat, because it's like, I'm able to rattle it off and go, but I do it. And I try to be fast on Twitter. But again, we talked about that earlier. Sometimes you have commitments and you're dedicated to something and you need to turn other things off. I've got meetings, I'm a solopreneur and I'm trying to make stuff happen. So I usually try to make sure I'm responding within 24 hours. I try to go faster because Twitter requires that, but I let people know, be like, sorry, I was at this, here's my response,
Right.
But then you add in, if I'm doing a daily Periscope, I do a weekly Facebook Live. That's probably another half hour a day. I don't know. I guess it seems like, to me, honestly, it's hard to quantify because it's a part of my life. Yeah. So, if I do get an alert on Twitter, I'll go, oh, do that. Or Snapchat, oh, I gotta answer that. And it's these are people in my life. So it's almost like my kid asking me, hey mom, can you make me some strawberries? Like, yeah, I don't quantify how much time that takes. It's just something that I care about and do. So
So that's interesting to that kind of an aspect of how are you using social media. You're using it as a part of everyday life. It's not, well, I'm going to
yeah.
work now and I close the door and now I'm being social, and then I leave my
Mhm.
office and now I'm not going to be social.
Yeah.
Because I know a number of, I can go through different channels and things like this, and I see people that I know. I just recognize names, and I'm like, I consider them to not only just to be people that I work with, but
Hmm.
or that I
Yeah.
help out. These are people that I know, and I
Yeah.
trust them, and I interact with them, and I
Mhm.
give them my time when they ask, in the same way that I would. And this is where the word comes in. I treat
Yeah.
them like friends,
Yes.
but in a respectful way, in a timely way,
Yeah.
not as an inconvenience, not as like another client. I
Yeah.
respect them, and I try to give them that time.
Hmm.
But yeah, like you said, I'm not sitting here going, well, Rachel, I've already given you a half hour today. I can't give you any more. Like you're out of, you need to put another quarter in the slot. I don't treat them that way. Now, if we have a working arrangement, then that's a little different, because it's
Right.
working arrangement. I'm doing work for you. But if you come to me and ask me, I really do try to do my best to get out. And you're the same way. I know you are.
Yeah. Well, and you bring up such a good point. So there may come a day when if I have just a ton of Snapchat engagement happening, and it's impossible for me as one person to engage fully. There may come a day where I'm like, guys, you are worth my time, you're worth my dedication, and I can't do both at the same time. I am one person. So if you want to engage with me, you're going to have to go here. There may come that day, and I would rather make that decision and say that, and say, if I want to, these relationships are valuable enough to me to be able to stay on top of it, and therefore I may have to move to one platform. I don't know that that's going to happen, or it
Mm-hmm.
becomes, because again, I'm a solopreneur. I actually have two people that work for me on a contract basis, which is so
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. Oh my gosh. But I do still do work for clients, and I get busy, and all of us social media marketers, often will defer back, well, I got to do the client work first. And our own social media marketing, our engagement
Sure.
suffers as a result. And I think we've all been there. But my goal, I would have to say, I need to try to prioritize to say, if I am going to respond me to all these people that I tout to care about, then I need to hire people to handle anything else that I don't have to do to allow me to engage with these people. And I will say that too. I feel like, there. I'm not Gary Vaynerchuk or Brian Fanzo, and I know they've got a ton of people
Mm-hmm.
following on them and engaging
Yeah.
with them. I have to give major props to Brian. He
Mm-hmm.
engages.
Yep.
Even if I do a private snap to him, even if it's just a little sticker or a smiley, I get something back. And
Yeah.
that is a huge investment for him, I
Yeah.
know. Because I don't have anywhere near his following, and he engages like a rock
All
star.
the
And
time.
the time,
Mm-hmm.
that's beyond 45 minutes a day, I can guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when you prioritize that, you win. I
Yeah.
really, so whenever I do run across influencers who don't make that time, I
Yeah.
change my opinion a little bit. I'm like, well, then I'm going to go focus on the ones that do, that prioritize the engagement.
Exactly. And it
You
doesn't
know?
devalue the other ones that don't. And because, just understand, I know they are busy. That's not the question. That is not the issue. It's not, well, I know they're really busy. You can still write them, and if they don't write you back. Now here's the
Hmm.
the divergence. If the claim is, oh, I love my community. I always engage in my community, and you message and you message and you message and you never get anything back, and you participate,
Hmm.
I pull back.
Yeah,
I stop watching. I
absolutely.
stop listening, because maybe the message is right, but there's no, what do they say? Walk the talk. If
Yeah,
you're really
yeah.
an engager and community oriented,
Hmm.
then you're gonna message back. I don't
Yeah.
even get. There you go. Like, if I've done that, and I've done the same thing for Bryant, and I just get a quick little selfie, like, hey, like, thanks, man, perfect. That
Yeah.
really is fine.
That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I I just would really encourage anyone who's trying to be, and I'm not saying this from, I'm not Brian Pans, I'm not Gary Vaynerchuk, but I love Joe Wilson, Joe Wilson TV. He always has that saying, "We are all famous to a few people," and I totally believe that. There are people who will go to your content every day just faithfully because they're like, "Just love what you share," and that's great as long as you're authentic. Those are your people, that's your tribe, and the tribe may be very big or may be very small, but as long as they're engaged. And I would just really encourage anyone who is trying to tout themselves as an influencer or someone to be watched or famous or infamous on social media. If when you do engage, you're not. I just really, and please guys, everybody watching this chat, if you ever see me doing this, call me out. Don't ever feel like you're so famous that everyone should just feel lucky to share your content and that's how they engage with you. I've gotten those kind of messages from people where they're like, I send them something and they're like, "Great, can you share this with 5 other people?" I'm like, well, if I like it, yeah. I'm like, that to me, that's like, yeah, do me this favor because I'm so awesome. No. If your content's good, it'll get shared.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. The important thing is to treat that person like a person and not, I just don't think anyone's ever such a rock star that they should expect people are just so happy to do that. So that's my little soapbox for the day.
In the kind of just, I'll read one of the comments here from Rashim. She writes, I think the more your social life is in alignment with your core business values, the easier it is to engage in an authentic way. And I think she really hits it on the head in terms of how social can you really be? Well, you can, if you're one person in your business life and another person in your private life, I mean, it's going to be very difficult to be consistent because you have to clock in and clock out. But if you're if who you are on camera is who you are off camera, then it's going to be a lot easier to make a transition or to be able to share consistently. And I think that's really kind of the point that we're getting at. I am looking for somebody. I know who they are. I'm not gonna, it's not like those movie stars where you see them acting on screen and then you see them off screen and you're like, well, who's this person? That's not what we're talking about. And I think social media takes a lot of that mystery out. It is demanding us to be, oh, look, you see me on my Facebook and my Instagram, I'm the same guy. And Rachel, you're the same person there. It's not a guessing game anymore.
Right. Well, and I've always said to people, and one of the reasons I like social media training, I love training people to do their own social media, and not everybody can. There's totally going to be outsourcing and stuff, but no one's going to do social media for yourself as well as you. And I always tell people, I'm like, you need to be authentic on social media. Whatever your voice is, find it, stick with it, but that needs to be an authentic voice. And I always refer back to this quote, which I'm not going to do exactly, but it's from The West Wing, which is one of my favorite shows. But Toby on there said something like, I told someone to tell the truth because at the end of the day, that's the easiest thing to remember. So when you're yourself and you're being true to yourself, that's the easiest thing to fall back on. If you have a fake persona or you're a different person on LinkedIn and versus Twitter versus Facebook, how are you going to keep that all straight? You have to put these hats on and be like, oh, on LinkedIn, I'm here. And no. So just be yourself. You obviously should communicate within the confines of that platform. A tweet is never going to look the same as a Facebook post, should not. You should engage according to the platform, but be yourself. And then, if I may, Joss Whedon has a really good quote. He's like, be yourself unless you're an asshole. So, so don't be a jerk, Right. I mean, obviously those people will have an audience too, but it's a lot nicer to be a nice person and just be genuine and care about other people. And honestly, I'm going to yell at Ross Brand right now and yell in a good way. He is one of my inspirations for this. Ross is such a supporter of other people. Mm-hmm. I can't say enough about it. And to me, I feel like that is who I strive to be. If I can support other people to be awesome for who they are, that's not going to compete with me. That's them adding awesomeness to the world. And right. Ross is a wonderful inspiration for that. So Ross, if you're listening, I just hope you realize that you're a very incredible human being, and I wish we had more of you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I have to say, like, having met Ross, not in person, and I missed that opportunity when they did the New York live stream meetup. But knowing him, watching him, listening to interacting, He really is. He really does set the standard really high for
He
everybody else in a
does.
good way. Is in
Yeah.
like, could I get that level of engagement that I can offer out? And so that's a really good point. And thank you for bringing Ross up as
Yeah.
a good example of that, because we need more Rosses in the world.
Me too. I know that should be a tagline. I'm going to make a bumper sticker. We need more Ross in the world.
We need more Ross in the world. That is fantastic. Well, hey Rachel, we've been
Wow.
going for a little while now. We've talked about a whole bunch of different things, and I have to say thank you so much for for kind of just giving us some real world experience, your perspective on these things, because you're doing them now. Whether it's on just the whatever the platform was, or maybe how you're merging them together, the that platform crossover. I really appreciate that. And so but I wanted to encourage everybody that's in the community, if you haven't already, please join our Facebook group. The
Mhm.
easiest way to get there is just type in group.jonathantripp.com. That brings you right over to the Facebook group, and it's a great way to connect further. We talk about about community engagement. That is a great place to do it. I know we didn't even really talk about LinkedIn, but today, and somebody brought that question up, but I do want to say, hey, Facebook is our community home right now. You can also follow me on YouTube, and at the easy way, instead of YouTube and all the slashes and all this, it's just youtube.jonathantripp.com. It just makes life a little bit easier. But I wanted to encourage everybody, make sure that you connect. Rachel, now, your Twitter chat, it's tomorrow. I get my days mixed up.
Today.
It's
Today.
today at
Yeah.
2,
3 p.m.
3
Eastern.
p.m. Okay, Eastern
1 p.m.
time.
Mountain Time. So yeah.
Because I'm getting them, I get them, I literally, if I don't
I
put them in
know.
my calendar and they pop up, I mess
Wednesdays
it
are a
up.
busy day for it too. There are a lot of chats today.
Yes.
Lots of chats.
Yes.
And real quick, I didn't know if I there are a couple of questions we didn't get to, and I didn't know if we had
Okay, if
time
you just
for
want to
them.
read them off, don't pop them up on the screen, but if
Sure.
you want to read them
Sure.
off, and then we can answer them that way too. So thank you.
I recommend Twitter ads, Rashim. I do recommend them. They're great. They're pretty affordable, very targeted. Twitter cards are great too. Honestly, if I had to recommend anyone be an expert in that, it would be Madeline Sklar. She's fantastic. And then the other one was, what are your thoughts on Microsoft buying LinkedIn? Do you see the B2B social media engagement and they create a new audience of users that have not participated in social media yet? I am there. This is a very polarizing topic. People either hate or love Microsoft and or LinkedIn. I'm a little bit ambivalent about LinkedIn for the last year because they have hardly done any development at all. But if they were looking to sell themselves, that's probably why. And then Microsoft, hate it and love it, use it, it's annoyed by it, but I feel like the two of them together could make beautiful music. So we'll see. I have always hoped that LinkedIn would develop its own live stream platform natively.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is going to help bring that along. And honestly, Microsoft being so used by businesses and professionals, and same thing with LinkedIn, seems like a perfect fit to me. So I'm excited to see what they do. Don't know if that'll make either one better. Hopefully. So that's all.
Well, that's been some really big news lately, and actually, I think I'd actually like to. Let's do this. We'll sum up today's show, Rachel, and then we'll kind of do our after show, and we'll
Okay.
kind of talk about it, because I think there's a couple of things, and for those that are watching us, you guys can watch us. You can come over to whoza.io/Jonathan Tripp if you want to be a part of that and be able to chat. And I really do my best to try to keep that open for everybody to come on over. But Rachel, if people want to work with you or get to connect with you a little bit more, would you please let them know where they can find you from there?
So my website is one of those funky new ones. It's really.social. That's it. There's no .com there. So if you type in really.social, you're going to get to my website. And really, there's any way, really, haha, I see what I did there. Any way to connect with me on there. I am also heavily on Twitter. If you tweet me, you're going to get me. It's at Rachel_really, and I'll share that in the little thing. And again, Snapchats, those are the two places I kind of hang out. So I'm on Snapchat it's Rachel Really Soch, SOC. And you'll find me there too. But also my Twitter my Twitter avatar is my Snap code. So if you use Snapchat, you can just hop in there, scan it, and you got me. And I'll add you back because I like people. I like people.
Perfect. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time today to do that and to be with it and just to kind of just to share. And you were very open with, with kind of giving some real life experience of just, yeah, it does. This is hard. This doesn't work. This does. So thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be on, and you're just going to have some awesome people on here too. Who do you have next, by the way? Who's your next guest?
Our next guest is actually going to be Art Jones. Okay, and we're going to be talking. I think he's a pretty cool guy. I do. And so, but we're going to be talking about tomorrow with Art. We're going to be talking about the art of standing out. In his perspective and in just some of his experience with it. So I will post, actually the link is already up. I will post it again in our Facebook group. But for replays and things like that, again, as soon when this stream ends on Whoza, it will actually bring that up next. And so I would say this, if you guys really want to know what the next ones are and be reminded and things like this, you can subscribe to Whoza. And it will automatically just remind you. I think it's about a half hour. So it's a really kind of a cool feature to be able to do that. So
it'll send you email reminder and you can add it to your calendar from that email.
It's super easy. It's probably one of the best integration features I've found on a lot of the social media platforms because it's not super invasive. It's not like it's popping up on my, like everywhere. I'm getting like desktop and notifications and tweets and email. It's an email that I know is going to be coming and I can just add it in my calendar. So, but there's a bunch of cool, really easy features that they can do. So, but that's our show for tomorrow. That's Art. And again, that's 10 a.m. Eastern time. And you can find me live here Monday through Friday, live on Whoza, and that's HUZZA.io/Jonathan Tripp. And you know what? I said yesterday I was going to have a lower third with that put up, and I totally missed it. I will do it today. While I'm doing a Twitter chat, I'll do that. So
cool.
Well, thank you again, guys. Thank you so much for everybody that's watched us live, whether it was on Facebook or YouTube or even Blab, or if you watched us live here on Whoza, you get to participate in the chat. We try to give your questions priority and things like that. So, but thank you guys, everybody that's been a part of our show. I'm really glad you're here. All right.
Me too.
So
thank you, guys.
Let's sum this out, and we'll go out from there. Guys, I'm really glad to have you guys here, and we will see you later. Okay?